everybody. Welcome back to Agritexture's travel-free digital conference series. My name is Eric Roth. With me today, I have Colin Tomkins-Bergh, who is the Strategic Business Development Manager at Foodmaven. And he's going to be giving a little presentation focusing on food waste, agriculture, and the Foodmaven model during the COVID-19 pandemic. So whenever you're ready, Colin, please take it away.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Eric, and thanks for having us on your new programming. Appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here to start off. Hello, everyone. As Eric mentioned, my name is Colin, and I am working with Foodmaven, and we are a food distributor based in Colorado, having a headquarters in Colorado Springs. I'm actually sitting in Denver, our second hub of operations, and we also just opened up a new facility in the Dallas metro area as well. But point of that being is I'm here in Denver, Colorado, and just look forward to talking with you today a little bit about food waste, agricultural food system in America overall, and particularly in these times during COVID-19, and exactly how Foodmaven plays a part in that, and just tell you a little bit more about Foodmaven's model. So to get started with that, usually like to talk about the current U.S. food system. And current, I'm talking about definitely pre-COVID-19 and obviously having some very large impacts, but also certainly during as well, as a lot of these things have stayed true today. Overall, the U.S. food system is really exceptional at producing food across the country in volume, quality, diversity of different types of foods, and really at getting food at a very low price point to end consumers. It's something that the last 5, 6+ decades of U.S. food system has been designed, evolved into being able to do this, which is exceptional. It allows us to have foods that typically would only be able to have from all around the world in your own grocery store or at restaurants that you frequent. However, there also are some downsides with being able to produce most things in many places in such large quantities. And that is that we've built a system that is not very good at using all of that food. And so these statistics here we have on the slide are from last year, I will say, and I think will certainly change all quite a bit drastically this year. And unfortunately, a lot of these numbers I don't anticipate changing for the better due to a lot of the changes that we're all seeing hit our systems right now. But the point here overall being is that pre and certainly during, we are in this country wasting a lot of food. You've all probably heard or read the numbers and statistics, but roughly 40% of agricultural products are wasted in this country. And of that waste, food in landfills makes up about 1/3 is what is going into landfills. So also, obviously, this is not just an issue of that waste, but all that's being wasted, we're also having millions and millions of people facing food insecurity. As well, at the other end of the supply chain, we have a vast number of farmers who are facing economic hardship as well. So while we're seeing this billions and billions of dollars of economic loss, we're seeing people who are having a hard time being able to get food, as well as we're seeing farmers who are having a really hard time in making a living. Now, as I mentioned, unfortunately, during this period in time, these type of issues are to a degree only being exacerbated. And we're seeing that due to the number of shocks that have hit the supply chain at every single step and level, that there's an even more increase of the amount of food being wasted. I've heard and seen a lot about the amount of dairy and that's being wasted in my home state of Wisconsin to an already pretty hard hit dairy industry, as well as talked with numerous number of growers, produce growers across the country who are primarily selling to restaurants, food service, a lot of industries that are primarily closed right now, and just having literal tons of products that they are trying to find new homes for. So all this being said, obviously there's major issues going on in every aspect of life, and so in food we still are at a similar issue to before, where we were producing plenty, and now it's really about how do we get this food into the right places. So how do we utilize our current systems, and how do we make those systems more agile to ensuring that the produce, the dairy, any of these perishable foods that are perfectly nutritious, delicious, are actually ending up in people's hands now that we have very different change outlets in where they can get it for the time being. So that's kind of the world that I myself personally am living in, and may have described a bit of what other people are experiencing in the country. And so I want to talk now a little bit more about what at Foodmaven we are really doing to try and address these issues since our start 4 years ago in Colorado Springs, and certainly now during the time of the food system in COVID-19. So a little just introduction to Foodmaven. We're a new and enlightened way to source food. So we basically are looking to provide opportunities for institutions to meet their sustainability goals while also saving money. And I say institutions as up until just 2 weeks ago, we have only sold to businesses at Foodmaven. But now, actually, just in the last 2 weeks, we have opened up a business to consumer path and are now selling direct to consumers, which I'll talk a little bit more later. But basically, of all our products, each tell a story, and they're each backed with impact metrics for every purchase. So we're really trying to decrease the amount of food that is being wasted in the food system. And we do that by focusing on 3 specific types of products. First being local products. So in Colorado, we certainly realized, and definitely realized in most other places, local producers, ranchers, growers can have a pretty tough time in establishing a lot of those business-to-business type of connections, where they can be selling their product at a very constant rate to restaurants or universities. And as a result of that, will sometimes not exactly get their highest price for their product that a really high quality product deserves. And so we're certainly acting as a way to increase the amount of local products that are being sold at all forms of kitchens throughout the state of Colorado and now Texas. And as well as working with those local suppliers with their out of spec and oversupply product. So when I speak of out of spec product, we're really thinking about any product that doesn't meet the original specification. And that specification could be due to the cosmetic look of the product, quality, the packaging, a date, a label. And so the easiest way to think of here is any form of number 2 produce, or even any kind of more so finished product, processed product that just had some issue with the date or label, and that original buyer was no longer interested just due to that change. And then finally, oversupply. This is typically happens quite a bit at the farm level, and that's actually an example of what we're looking at right now with a lot of farmers who they've had produce in the field for the past few months. Now time to harvest, and they don't have a buyer because that buyer's closed right now. And so trying to offer as frequently as possible to be another source for that produce to go, and for us to then be able to sell that on to our customers as well. Oversupply can happen at any step of the supply chain as well. So those are the 3 types of products: local, out of spec, and oversupply, that we focus on. And then, just because I've been speaking about food waste across the country and all these issues with that, just want to hone it back into Foodmaven. We're a food distributor, and so basically the functions that we supply during in the food supply chain is that of gathering the supply of the 3 types of products that we just spoke of, and then storing it. So we have our own warehouses throughout Colorado and now Texas. And then from those warehouses is where we then go ahead and ship our product to our consumers, which, like I said, historically has been the type of people who have been buying this impact product has been high-end restaurants, been universities, it's been healthcare facilities, wide variety of places, and now even as well as consumers, which I'll talk about here in just a little bit. So how we kind of quantify our work on improving the supply chain, improving the agility, and decreasing the amount of food that's being wasted is by looking at 4 different impact metrics between environmental and social. So they're all here right on the slide. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but these are the ones that we care about, that we report on, and that we report on to our customers. So just basically the volume of food that we're stopping from going to a landfill, which in the last year stopped about 327 tons of food from going to landfill, and instead ending up on people's plates at a restaurant or in someone's lunch. And then the second one that we really care a lot about is impacting in our local community and food donations that we give to nonprofits who are facing people with food insecurity. So last year we did about 350,000, donated about 350,000 meals to those partners in Colorado. So those are the kind of ways that we try to really stay focused on our overall vision of ensuring that all food is used with good purpose. These are the metrics that we really track to make sure that we're continually doing a better job of that and continually doing more. As I mentioned earlier, we have recently gone from a B2B to now and also as well a B2C company. So you know, we, just along with everyone else in this country and regardless of the industry, were hit pretty severely with the COVID-19 in particular, just in the closing of a good number of our customers and restaurants and food service. And so we obviously still have a lot of food in our warehouse. A lot of that food is perishable. And we also really realized the dire need for people to be getting that food. You know, we've all been to grocery stores in the last month, and depending on the day and depending on which one you go to, you're not going to find maybe a few things on your list or maybe half your list. And so just increasing the number of places where people had to go for that food, as well as being able to ensure that we're able to continue moving our food and just make sure it's still being eaten. So we launched this program just under 2 weeks ago and have been doing both people able to come and pick up at our warehouses, as well as just last week we launched delivery and actually being able to people go online, order their products that they'd like, and then we do delivery throughout the week to them. And so this is a pretty unique thing for a food distributor to be doing, as a lot of almost most of our products are much more so in larger type of packaging, and that are typically intended for businesses. So we've done some work on definitely decreasing those pack sizes and making sure that we have products that are interesting and obviously at a great price point to our consumers. And so it's been a really great start so far. We've gotten really good responses from our community on the service we're providing, and we've been really delighted to be able to continue moving a lot of our impact product now directly into people's homes. So this is just one way where now that we see more product moving through, we're able to also start working more with other suppliers who may be sitting in a hard place, maybe having a lot of produce, a lot of any kind of product, and that now we're able to work with them more now that we just have increased the number of outlets for our own product as well. And so that's just one of the many things that we've had to do to change. This has definitely been one of the more successful and also encouraging as we continue to just find new ways to adapt to this new world. And finally, just wanted to throw a few shout outs to some of the other organizations that we've worked directly with and that have just been a huge help in trying to really just figure out this entire new food system. And so one would be the Upcycled Food Association, which is a rather new association, just started, I believe, last year. Foodmaven's been one of the founding members of the association. basically just a great network of like-minded companies who are all trying to decrease the amount of food being wasted throughout the country, and I believe world. It's focused internationally. And so they've just been some good support on collecting people's needs and on basically pooling resources and opportunities available to companies that are kind of in the space. And then there's just been also a lot of really great organizations like Live Well Colorado and many others who have been kind of pooling really great minds, pooling resources, and doing some really great polling and trying to understand exactly where everyone's needs are throughout the food supply chain and how best to get those resources to the right people. So those are a few of the things that we've just been involved in through our work at Foodmaven, and so I want to give some shout outs to that. But that was just kind of a little insight into how we've seen the food system change so far this year and what we're doing to still stay true to our vision with all these changes.
Well, Colin, thank you so much for being here and presenting. And I just want to tell you, it was great learning about Foodmaven, and the work you guys do is really so important. And thank you and everyone at Foodmaven for doing that work and for opening your warehouse to your community during this time, and helping to rebuild the food system and solve these massive inefficiencies that we have. And people, our followers, know about these inefficiencies, the amount of food wasted, and it's it's great to see somebody really working to solve those problems and hopefully really help solve some of these food waste issues. I just want to ask, is there anything else that Agritech's community can do to support the work you do, whether they're in the Colorado area or wherever they might be?
I think just definitely any point that it makes sense to spread the word of who we are. Just being a 4-year-old startup, we're definitely better known in Colorado, but I think not very well known on a national scale. And certainly on our selling side, we really can only sell primarily to Colorado and the Dallas markets. But on the supply side, we work with people all over the country. And so just, increasing our visibility and starting relationships, I think can just really help in the amount of food that's being wasted. Just knowing of more people like us who are willing and open to taking product that may not necessarily be taken other places.
Okay, Colin. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to present with us, and everybody go check out Foodmaven, follow them on all social media, and thank you for watching. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks so much.